And I think at that stage, those moments of doubt just pop into your head. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not. Why am I not like the others?
Virginia Giuffre's serious claims about Prince Andrew caused a huge storm. It even reached his daughter, Princess Beatrice, who reportedly had a very public breakdown. After years of dealing with her father's Epstein scandal, a shocking new truth may have pushed her over the edge. Let's uncover the truth behind Virginia's words. He knows what happened. I know what happened. Only one of us is telling the truth. No, it's me. The royal who dared to be different. Princess Beatrice Elizabeth Mary of York. From the moment she was born on August 8, 1988, she was destined for a life less ordinary. As the first child of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and Sarah Ferguson, the vivacious Duchess of York, better known as Fergie, Beatrice was a granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II. Royalty flowed through her veins, but even from a young age, there was something about Beatrice that hinted she wouldn't just follow the well-trodden royal path. While most royals are groomed from birth for a life of official duties, ribbon-cutting ceremonies, and representing the crown with unwavering formality, Beatrice harbored a quiet ambition to experience the world beyond palace walls. She wanted to mix the ancient traditions of her heritage with the vibrant, fast-paced dreams of a contemporary young woman. And incredibly, she managed to do just that, keeping her royal title while also bravely chasing a career. A feat almost unheard of in the upper echelons of the firm, as the royal family is sometimes called. Even as a young girl, Beatrice showed an almost unroyal interest in the ordinary working world. Can you imagine a princess wanting to get a summer job? In the summer of 2008, a 19-year-old Princess Beatrice did just that. She rolled up her sleeves and worked as a sales assistant at Selfridges, one of London's most famous and bustling department stores. It wasn't a glamorous, high-powered position. She was helping customers, folding clothes, and learning the ropes of retail. But it was real. It gave her a taste of life outside the royal bubble, a glimpse into the everyday experiences of people her age. What an eye-opener that must have been. Around the same time, she wasn't afraid to volunteer. She spent time in the press office at the Foreign Office, a super important part of the British government that deals with other countries. Beatrice was clearly eager to learn, to absorb new things, and she wasn't afraid to try different experiences, even if there wasn't a royal paycheck attached. She was driven by curiosity, not just by duty. At one point, whispers even spread that she was thinking about becoming a journalist. Imagine a princess reporting the news. Rumors flew that she was interested in joining the website of the Financial Times, a very serious and respected newspaper. This showed her brave spirit, her willingness to step outside the gilded cage of palace walls to find out what else life could offer. She wasn't content to just be waited on. She wanted to do things. Her adventurous spirit even led her to the silver screen. In 2009, she made a tiny appearance in the movie The Young Victoria, a film about the early life of her famous ancestor, Queen Victoria. It was just a small, non-speaking role as a lady-in-waiting, but it was a huge deal. It made her the first member of the royal family to actually act in a fictional film. How cool is that? Later, Beatrice landed a paid internship at Sony Pictures, the giant movie company. This was an exciting opportunity, a real step into the corporate world. Unfortunately, her time there was cut short after a massive hacking incident hit the company in 2014, exposing private emails and causing a huge scandal. What a setback! But Beatrice wasn't one to be easily defeated. In 2015, she made an incredibly bold move. She packed her bags and relocated to New York City. This was a massive step, moving across the Atlantic, away from the constant scrutiny of the British press and the familiar routines of royal life. She was hoping for a fresh start, a chance to build her own career, and perhaps a little bit of precious freedom. By 2017, she was skillfully juggling a full-time job, splitting her time between London for family and some royal occasions and New York for her career. When she was working, she often went by the simpler name Beatrice York, trying to keep things a bit more low-key. Today, she holds an impressive title, Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at Affinity, a software company that uses super smart artificial intelligence technology to help businesses improve their customer service. And it's not just about business for Beatrice. She plays a big part in programs that help women become leaders in the corporate world. She's using her platform, her intelligence, and her drive to make a real difference. Even though she generally avoids the harsh glare of the media spotlight, Beatrice still gracefully takes part in special royal events. You'll see her at royal weddings, looking elegant and composed, at important charity events, and sometimes even at high-profile fashion shows. She has no official royal duties like her cousins, Prince William and Prince Harry, before he stepped back. This unique position gives her the precious freedom to live life largely on her own terms, a delicate balancing act between two very different worlds. But this carefully constructed life, this blend of royal heritage and modern ambition, was about to be shaken to its very core. The shadows of her family's past were lengthening, and a storm was brewing that even a princess couldn't escape. Could her independent spirit withstand the hurricane of scandal that was about to engulf her beloved father? A gentle heart in a gilded cage. Princess Beatrice has always been known for her gentle nature, a quiet warmth that seemed to shy away from the drama that often swirled around her more flamboyant family members. Born on that summer day in 1988, she was a precious first child for Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, and her arrival was met with joy and excitement. Intriguingly, her name, Beatrice Elizabeth Mary, was kept a secret from the eager public for almost 2 whole weeks after her birth. This unusual delay made her arrival feel like a special mystery, a little puzzle that everyone was desperate to solve. What were they waiting for? It added an air of quiet anticipation to her first days. Like all royal children, Beatrice's early life was steeped in ancient traditions and grand ceremonies. Her christening, a deeply significant religious event, took place at the breathtakingly beautiful Chapel Royal in St. James's Palace. This historic chapel has witnessed centuries of royal prayers, celebrations, and sorrows. Her godparents were a carefully chosen mix of close family members and trusted friends, ready to guide her through her unique life. Not long after Beatrice's arrival, her sister, Princess Eugenie, was born in 1990. The two princesses became incredibly close, forging an unbreakable bond that only sisters who share such an extraordinary upbringing can understand. They were partners in a unique world, navigating the complexities of royal childhood together. However, life in a palace isn't always a fairy tale. When Beatrice was just 7 years old, a profound sadness touched her young life. Her parents, Prince Andrew and Fergie, made the difficult decision to divorce in 1996 after several years of separation. This was a massive event, a royal marriage crumbling under the relentless gaze of the world. Despite this painful split, Andrew and Fergie famously remained good friends, a united front dedicated to raising their daughters with love and stability. The Queen, ever the pragmatist, made sure that Beatrice and Eugenie would have a secure future, ensuring their financial well-being. Both girls continued to enjoy fun holidays and special moments with both their parents, who worked hard to shield them from the fallout of their separation. Beatrice received her education at some of England's most prestigious schools. She attended Upton House School in Windsor and later Coworth Park School. For her secondary education, she went to the renowned St. George's School in Ascot, where she even became head girl, a testament to her quiet leadership and the respect she earned from her peers. Like many young girls, Beatrice focused on her studies, did her best to overcome her dyslexia, a challenge she has spoken openly about as an adult, and cherished the time spent with her close-knit family. As she blossomed into a young woman, Beatrice chose a path distinctly quieter than many of her royal relatives. Instead of actively seeking a high-profile, full-time royal role, She focused on important charity work and bravely pursued a career outside the traditional confines of the palace. She became particularly passionate about advocating for education and supporting those with dyslexia and mental health challenges. Two causes, incredibly close to her own heart, stemming from her own childhood experiences. Known for her genuine warmth, her down-to-earth nature, and her profound kindness, she became admired for her gentle spirit and her remarkable ability to avoid the drama that often seemed to follow other royals. She was the calm in the storm, the quiet presence. Then, in 2019, Beatrice's personal life took a wonderful fairy tale turn. She was seen at a glamorous charity event with a dashing and successful man named Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, a handsome property developer with Italian aristocratic roots. The cameras flashed, and the world swooned. It turned out the couple had been quietly dating since 2018, their romance blossoming away from the prying eyes of the press. They quickly became inseparable, a picture of happiness and contentment. In September of that same year, while on a romantic getaway to Italy, Edoardo proposed, and Beatrice joyfully accepted. Their engagement was announced, and plans for a grand royal wedding were set in motion. The ceremony was originally planned for May 2020, a glorious spring wedding fit for a princess. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. The devastating COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, forcing a worldwide lockdown and postponing their dream wedding. It must have been a heartbreaking disappointment. However, their love was strong. Instead of a lavish public ceremony, Beatrice and Edoardo married in a small, intensely private and secret ceremony on July 17, 2020. The intimate service took place at the Royal Chapel of All Saints in Windsor, with only their closest family members present, including the Queen and Prince Philip. Beatrice looked absolutely breathtaking. She wore a stunning vintage gown by Norman Hartnell, a treasured piece loaned to her by her grandmother, the Queen. And gracing her head was the magnificent Queen Mary fringed tiara, the very same tiara the Queen had worn on her own wedding day in 1947. It was a poignant and beautiful tribute, a symbol of love and continuity. Upon marrying Edoardo, Beatrice also lovingly became a stepmother to his young son, Christopher Wolfe, affectionately known as Wolfie. Their family joy grew even more in September 2021 with the birth of their own daughter, Sienna Elizabeth Mapelli Mozzi. The arrival of baby Sienna was a source of immense happiness for the couple and the entire royal family. With the sad passing of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022, little Sienna moved up to the 10th spot in the line of succession to the throne. Later, as per some timelines, they welcomed another daughter, Athena, further completing their family circle. Beatrice seemed to have found her happy ending, a loving husband, beautiful children, a fulfilling career, and a quiet life in a charming Cotswolds farmhouse, away from the relentless glare of London. It was a life she had carefully and thoughtfully built. But the quiet life she so cherished was about to be brutally interrupted. The dark clouds of her father's past were gathering, and a scandal of unimaginable proportions was about to break. A scandal that would not only tarnish his name, but would also drag his beloved daughter into a vortex of pain, public scrutiny, and an agonizing emotional reckoning. Could her gentle heart withstand the storm? Prince Andrew and the Epstein scandal that shook the monarchy. While Princess Beatrice was quietly building her life, a monstrous scandal involving her father, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, was beginning to erupt, threatening to tear the royal family apart and forever change his life and hers. This scandal was inextricably linked to his deeply disturbing connection with the American financier Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was a wealthy, powerful businessman with a network of influential friends that stretched across the globe. But behind the facade of success and opulence lay a dark and depraved secret. Epstein had a tarnished reputation, and in 2008 he was convicted in Florida for serious crimes involving the intimate violence of underage girls. The revelation of his heinous offenses sent shockwaves around the world and brought intense, uncomfortable scrutiny and deep suspicion to anyone who had ever been associated with him, and that catastrophically included Prince Andrew. The Duke of York's association with Epstein would eventually explode into a firestorm of public outcry, complex legal battles, and irreparable damage to Andrew's reputation and his standing within the monarchy. Concerns about Andrew's friendship with Epstein first began to surface around 2011. The British media and the public started raising serious alarms. Was it appropriate, they asked, for a senior royal prince, a representative of the crown, to maintain any kind of relationship with a man who had been convicted of such vile crimes? The media scrutiny intensified, relentlessly questioning whether this association was fitting for someone in Andrew's prominent position. The criticism grew louder and more insistent. Soon, Prince Andrew faced mounting calls to step down from his prestigious role as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment, often called the UK's Trade Envoy. To make matters infinitely worse, it was revealed that Jeffrey Epstein had, at one point, reportedly helped settle some of Sarah Ferguson's significant debts. This financial link further complicated Andrew's already problematic connection to the disgraced financier, painting a picture of entanglement that was becoming increasingly difficult to explain away. Then, in 2014, the situation took an even darker, more ominous turn. New legal documents from Florida surfaced, bringing forth shocking and incredibly serious allegations directly against Prince Andrew. A woman named Virginia Giuffre, then known as Virginia Roberts, who had previously claimed that she had been exploited and manipulated by Jeffrey Epstein from a young age, made a horrifying accusation. She publicly accused Prince Andrew of being involved in inappropriate intimate misconduct with her. She alleged in graphic detail that Epstein had forced her to have intimate encounters with several high-profile, powerful figures, and she named Prince Andrew as one of them. Crucially, she stated that these encounters occurred when she was just 17 years old, still a minor under U.S. law. The accusations were absolutely shocking, sending tremors of disbelief and disgust through the public. People clamored for answers, for explanations, for accountability. While the specific legal action at that time was not directed specifically at Andrew, he was inevitably and damagingly dragged into the heart of the scandal due to the devastating nature of Giuffre's allegations. Buckingham Palace, the official voice of the monarchy, was quick to react. They issued strong and categorical rejections of these claims, stating unequivocally that the accusations against Prince Andrew were false and without any foundation. They maintained, with an air of royal authority, that Prince Andrew had never engaged in any inappropriate behavior whatsoever. However, despite the palace's forceful denials, the public's curiosity and deep-seated suspicion only grew. The story was too disturbing, the allegations too specific to be simply dismissed. Virginia Giuffre claimed that she had met with Prince Andrew on 3 separate occasions. One of these alleged encounters, she said, took place in London. She also alleged that she had been taken to Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, a place that would later become infamous for its alleged debauchery, and to his opulent New York residence. Disturbingly, flight records, meticulously logged for Epstein's private jets, seemed to corroborate some parts of her statements, as they reportedly showed Prince Andrew being in the same locations she mentioned around the same times. Even more troubling and visually damning was a photograph that surfaced. This now infamous picture appeared to show Prince Andrew with his arm around a young Virginia Giuffre's waist. Standing in the background, smiling, was Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate and girlfriend, who would later be convicted for her role in Epstein's intimate business ring. Andrew's supporters immediately and vehemently questioned the authenticity of this photograph, suggesting it might have been digitally altered or faked. On the other hand, many people accepted it as real, further fueling the raging fire of speculation and public condemnation. In her testimony, Giuffre expressed how intimidated and controlled she had felt by Jeffrey Epstein and his immense influence, adding that she felt she would not have been able to refuse his demands. Despite the extreme seriousness of the accusations, a judge ruled in 2015 that the specific claims against Andrew should be struck from the public legal documents in that particular case. However, crucially, the judge did not rule on the truth or falsity of the allegations themselves, leaving the door open for Virginia Giuffre to provide further testimony or take further action in the future. The storm had not passed. It had merely paused. And in 2019, the scandal erupted with even greater force. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested again, this time on fresh federal charges of intimate business. The world watched in horror as more details of his predatory behavior emerged. During this period, another woman connected to the case, Johanna Sjoberg, came forward with new testimony. She claimed that Prince Andrew had acted inappropriately toward her, touching her breast, while they were taking a photo at Epstein's Manhattan residence many years earlier. Soon after these new claims surfaced, Prince Andrew released a public statement. He insisted, once again, that he had never witnessed any misconduct during his time with Epstein. However, he did acknowledge, perhaps for the first time, that reconnecting with Epstein in 2010, after Epstein's initial conviction and release from jail, had been a mistake and an error of judgment. This admission, however small, was significant. The scandal deepened further when it was reported that in 2010, Prince Andrew had indeed been seen at Epstein's New York residence, where he allegedly received a foot massage from two young Russian women. This revelation, coming after his supposed error of judgment in meeting Epstein, further intensified the scandal, raising even more uncomfortable questions about the true nature and extent of Andrew's relationship with the convicted intimate offender. The nightmare for the royal family, and particularly for Beatrice, was far from over. More women came forward. In July 2020, Carolyn Kaufman filed a lawsuit claiming she had also encountered Andrew at Epstein's New York residence during the period of alleged intimate manipulation. Then, in 2021, during Ghislaine Maxwell's high-profile trial, Epstein's private pilot, Lawrence Visosky, testified. Visosky stated that Prince Andrew had frequently flown on Epstein's private jet, the Lolita Express, as it was grimly nicknamed, along with other notable figures. Although Visosky maintained that he never personally witnessed any criminal activity during those flights, the mere presence of Andrew's name in the flight records over and over again continued to fuel suspicion and public outrage. Further court documents added to the mounting pile of circumstantial evidence, indicating that Andrew had taken multiple flights with both Virginia Giuffre and Jeffrey Epstein back in 2001. And in a separate, deeply unsettling piece of evidence, a photograph emerged showing Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell lounging casually at Balmoral Castle, the Queen's beloved private estate in Scotland, in 1999. They were there following an invitation from Prince Andrew. This image, showing these notorious figures in the heart of the Queen's sanctuary, raised even more disturbing questions about the depth of their relationship and their connection to the Duke of York. How could this have happened? In January 2022, Anthony Figueroa, Virginia Giuffre's former boyfriend, made a public statement suggesting that Giuffre had indeed mentioned meetings with Prince Andrew, meetings allegedly set up by Epstein. Around the same time, Carolyn Andriano, a woman who had testified during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, shared that Giuffre had spoken to her about being intimate with Prince Andrew in 2001, when Giuffre was still a teenager. According to Andriano, Giuffre seemed unfazed by the experience at the time, even describing it as thrilling. This statement added a new complex layer to the scandal, suggesting that Giuffre's immediate reaction might have been different from her later feelings of trauma. But it did nothing to lessen the serious ethical and legal questions surrounding Andrew's alleged involvement with a minor. Throughout this horrifying and prolonged ordeal, Prince Andrew's legal team worked tirelessly to refute all the accusations. They cast doubt on the credibility of the witnesses, highlighted inconsistencies in their statements, and fought tooth and nail to protect the Duke's already shattered reputation. But the biggest PR disaster was yet to come. In a desperate attempt to clear his name, Prince Andrew agreed to a televised interview. It was a decision that would backfire spectacularly, pushing him, and by extension his family, deeper into the abyss. And Beatrice, his devoted daughter, could only watch in horror as her father tried to explain the unexplainable. The interview that sealed his fate. As the storm of accusations against Prince Andrew raged, reaching a deafening crescendo, the Duke of York made a decision that many would later describe as catastrophic. He chose to speak out, to tell his side of the story in a televised interview with the BBC's prestigious Newsnight program, interviewed by the formidable Emily Maitlis. This was November 2019. His hope, presumably, was to quell the relentless speculation, to explain his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and to firmly deny the shocking allegations made by Virginia Giuffre. But what was intended as an exercise in reputation management, an attempt to clear his name, morphed into an unmitigated public relations disaster. It was a car crash in slow motion, and it only seemed to add more fuel to the already blazing fire of controversy. The most serious and damaging accusation came from Virginia Giuffre, who claimed that she and Prince Andrew had met and been intimate on March 10, 2001, at Ghislaine Maxwell's London home. In the Newsnight interview, Andrew firmly and very specifically denied this. He insisted it was impossible. His alibi was startlingly mundane. He explained that on that particular day he had spent the afternoon at a birthday party at a Pizza Express in Woking with his eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice. He then claimed he returned home to Sunninghill Park to spend the evening with his daughters. He was absolutely adamant that he could not have been in the places Giuffre described, particularly not dancing with her at the Tramp nightclub in London, as she had alleged. The Pizza Express in Woking alibi quickly became a subject of widespread disbelief and even ridicule. Many found it an oddly specific yet unconvincing detail for such a serious allegation. Prince Andrew also spoke about his connection with Jeffrey Epstein. He said they were introduced in 1999 by Ghislaine Maxwell. However, this didn't quite match earlier statements from his own private secretary, who had previously indicated that they first met in the early 1990s. This slight but noticeable difference in the timeline, a seemingly small discrepancy, made some viewers question the accuracy and consistency of Andrew's version of events. In situations of intense scrutiny, every detail matters. Another claim Virginia Giuffre had made was that Prince Andrew had given her alcohol during their alleged meetings. Prince Andrew swiftly and categorically denied this, stating very clearly that he doesn't drink alcohol, or at least rarely did so to the extent of offering it around. Some people who knew him socially reportedly backed this up, confirming that he was not generally known for drinking. But still, in the charged atmosphere of the interview, doubts lingered. The public, already skeptical, continued to scrutinize every word, every nuance, every hesitation. Perhaps the most controversial and widely criticized part of the interview was when Andrew discussed his visit to Jeffrey Epstein's opulent Manhattan mansion in December 2010. This visit occurred after Epstein had already been convicted of intimate offenses involving a minor and had served a lenient jail sentence. Andrew explained that he had stayed at Epstein's mansion for 3 days while he was in New York. His reason for this visit, he claimed, was that he wanted to officially end his friendship with Epstein face to face. The mansion, he suggested, was simply a convenient place to stay while in the city to conduct this difficult conversation. Many people found this explanation incredibly hard to accept, even preposterous. Why stay for 3 days in the home of a convicted intimate offender just to break off a friendship? Why not do it by phone or a brief meeting elsewhere? It seemed to defy logic, especially given the extremely serious nature of Epstein's crimes and the potential damage to Andrew's own reputation. He also famously stated he didn't regret his friendship with Epstein because of the opportunities it had provided him and the useful people he had met. This apparent lack of remorse or understanding of the severity of associating with Epstein horrified many viewers. Despite his denials, his alibis, and his explanations, the controversy didn't die down. In fact, the interview seemed to make things worse. He came across to many as arrogant, out of touch, and lacking in empathy for Epstein's victims. In August 2021, the situation escalated dramatically. Virginia Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit against Prince Andrew in a New York federal court. She accused him of intimate violence and of intentionally causing her emotional distress. This legal move was made possible by New York's Child Victims Act, which temporarily lifted the statute of limitations, allowing victims of childhood intimate violence to take legal action, even if the alleged intimate manipulation had happened many years earlier. Prince Andrew's lawyers quickly responded, strongly rejecting the accusations once again and fighting to have the case dismissed. But in January 2022, in a major blow to Andrew, Judge Lewis Kaplan dismissed Andrew's request to have the case thrown out. This meant the legal battle would continue, and it opened the very real and humiliating possibility that Prince Andrew could be questioned under oath in court about his actions and his relationship with Epstein and Giuffre. The prospect of a British prince being cross-examined in an American courtroom over such sordid allegations was unthinkable for the monarchy. Then, just as the case seemed to be heading towards a potentially explosive trial, in February 2022, both sides reached an out-of-court settlement. Prince Andrew agreed to make a substantial financial contribution, reported to be millions of pounds, to a charity chosen by Virginia Giuffre, a charity that supports victims of intimate violence. However, crucially, despite this significant payment, Prince Andrew did not admit to any wrongdoing or to the truth of Giuffre's allegations as part of the settlement. He maintained his innocence. While the settlement brought an end to the immediate legal battle, the damage to his reputation was already catastrophic and seemingly irreversible. He had avoided a court showdown, but in the court of public opinion, many had already delivered their verdict. And through all of this, his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, had to endure the public humiliation and private pain of seeing their father, a man they loved, accused of such terrible things, and then publicly dissected. Beatrice, in particular, who had been named in his alibi, was thrust uncomfortably close to the sordid details. The Pizza Express comment would follow her, too. The quiet strength she had cultivated was about to be tested as never before. The fallout from that interview and the subsequent lawsuit would inevitably lead to her own emotional breaking point. Is Princess Beatrice just an innocent daughter, or a royal shield for her disgraced father? The truth may still be hidden. What do you believe? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.